Okay, good afternoon. I hope we still have some power in us to survive the next 2 hours in the next 29 minutes and 14 seconds. Yes, as Pastor Heshburn said, I've been partnering with the church for a very long time, initially with youth ministries, and now the Lord has pushed me off the cliff, and I'm now with communications. That's right, says Pastor Sam. The biggest challenge that I have in teaching in a auditorium setting is quite difficult for me because usually I'm the guy at the back. I'm the guy that pushes the buttons to make sure that what you want to do happens at a certain time. So being here in front has a lot of anxiety, and coupled with being dyslexic, adds to another level of that challenge. So I'm hoping that what I'll be able to share with you some of the lessons that I've been going through the past couple of years, transitioning back into forms of media, getting back into branding and design and now production. I'm trying to apply all those things back together to benefit not only the church, but the local members as well. Just this past month, I think about a month ago, we at our communications department, we put together a program called ComLab. And I'll share you a video about it in a while. Because we have this alignment that's been happening the past couple of years. You've heard things from Costa and from Sam and the rest of the team about the direction that we're trying to go with to collaborate, to kind of build that train track where everyone can hop on and be united in these concepts or in this design or in this content that will amplify who we are, how we present ourselves. And so I hope that what I'll be able to share this afternoon will be able to apply to you. How many of you work with teams? Okay, I see a couple hands. So some of you have no teams. So I guess you're the one-man team for your department. Any one-man team here? Oh, everyone laughs, but it's a real thing. There, I see her over here, the one-man team. The question that I would ask in a group of facilitators, in a group of practitioners would be to see how you would work as a team, right? And we want to make sure that when we work with our teams, we want to make sure that we're excelling at that. That's one of the things that I really have a passion for and trying to understand, that we as a church should be developing newer ideas rather than just staying on the previous idea and accepting it. Trying to going the extra mile, going further across, finding ways to spread the gospel, of course, but of course meet the needs of people where they are. One of the main focuses that I have learned, and I've always been practicing with our team, is that we want to put Jesus always on display. That's the only thing. So I resonate with what was being, can I use the word preached on this morning? When we try to figure out what we focus on. The content that we're trying to deliver. Sometimes it's messages coming from specific individuals, our presidents maybe, our secretaries. Sometimes it's just preaching on end, which is great things. But the gospel in its totality is more than just the words that come out. It's the services that we want to provide. And we see that in some of the presentations this morning and this afternoon about the different type of services that we want to provide. Especially when it comes to multimedia and production, it's not just, a face-to-face thing. You now have a screen that kind of separates you, and we try to build on ideas of how to, touch the person's emotions, how to say the right words, how to construct that sentence, make that visual the way it's supposed to be so it attracts someone to click on the link, to ask for a prayer, to ask for a Bible study. All that leads to us putting Jesus Christ on display on our social media pages. So where does production ministry fall in? In production ministry, there's things such as the cameraman. There's the audio people. I don't know if it's up there or down here. The audio guy, he runs around, makes sure that you get to hear everything that you're supposed to here. The visual guy, you got people on social media, you got people who are doing maybe post-production. They take the content and they put that in in a vertical format, and they upload it to the internet. You have all these factors when it comes to production ministries, and it's a lot to handle, especially when we're trying to focus on things. When we try to focus on what they produce, we often forget about the work that goes behind it, right? So say, for example, I'm right here. I have the microphone. I have people watching through the camera. You're listening to me. But the moment that maybe right? The moment that the audio goes off, we look at the person who's in charge. But if everything went smoothly, you'll never look at him. That's production ministries. It's the people behind the scene to make sure that this timer is going right on time, making sure that I get to see what's here. Maybe some of you have not seen the timer, but maybe you see it right there. So there's a lot of effort that goes into putting Jesus on display as a team. And there was this experience that I had, not just had, but it's a usual experience that I have when I go places and all of a sudden something happens and the audio goes out or the screen dies and someone says, we need to pray. The devil is doing something right now. He doesn't want you to hear what we're doing. But who's the devil? The technician? Who was supposed to ask the speaker to come 30 minutes before to please just test it, please. But comes only 5 minutes before. And everything goes wrong. But we have to pray that the devil doesn't bother us. That's the challenge with production ministries. It's about allowing ourselves to be prepared ahead of time. It's not always the fault of the devil. We give him credit for it. When in fact, we just forgot to maybe bring our charger. Or we forgot to charge the battery of the microphone. A lot of factors comes into view when it comes to production ministries. Another thing that I've learned with production, design, and creativity, we have a challenge when it comes to something like this. Is this a universal language for what? Money. Sometimes there's no budget, but we have to make something happen. And so the poor person has to go on to MS Paint maybe or PowerPoint and design you something. Often what happens when we don't invest in our productions, when we don't invest in the people that work with us, we begin to have a little problem. We might say, we need this right now. We need it very fast. And so what happens is, it's fast, but we don't have enough money. And so it's just, dipped in ugly sauce with a haste of carelessness. And if you want something really nice, but very cheap, just in time to be too late. You want it fast and you want it great. So very last minute, you get what you pay for, right? And often what happens in our circles, it's, you're a volunteer. Would you do us, a favor? We need something. And they'll sell you the idea, and then you ask the question, when do you need it? Tomorrow night. Right? That hurts, especially if you're working in the tech team or you're working on the design team. So what happens is you get a presentation that, free. You get trash, go away. They don't want to work with you anymore. Or let's try it again. Often when we sell our churches as places for inviting people, we only get one chance to make an impression sometimes, whether it's online or in person. So investing in our production teams is very crucial. And so talking about, maybe something on the background of that, this quality that we want to create, it speaks to the character of God. We can find that all throughout, not throughout, but there's quite a few verses that Paul shares with us in Colossians, 1 Corinthians. Whatever you do, do it for the glory of God. Whatever your hand touches, may it give God glory. That's that type of mentality that ought to be discipled into our production teams. Often we bring it back and just say, this is our schedule for the week. Follow the schedule. and we don't take the time to make sure that what they're doing, we just say that it's their skill. That's the best thing that they can do. So that's why we want them here. You know, one of the things that when I'm asked, why don't you hire people with expertise? And so I asked the person that asked me that question. I go, what do you mean by expert? The professional? And I'm like, okay, so if I'm going to hire a professional social media manager, I can't go to a school that's an Adventist school. I have to go to a non-Seventh-day Adventist school that has a degree in that. And then I have to make sure that that young person has enough experience. And before hiring that person, and they have the credentials, they have the experience outside of the church, and when they come to the church, they're going to say, so what's my pay grade? Oh, now we have to negotiate. We put in there it's a missionary status, right? And it gives us some problems, and the quality is not there. But that's also on us to make sure that we can help our teams excel. So when I look at the word as expert, I look at people who are experts in something. It might not be necessarily their degree, but they know all the wrong ways to do something. That's the expert. So I always look for people who are experts in doing the wrong things, because I know they know exactly what to do next time. So building that character in our team, that quality, the essence of having excellence, will always point out their view of God, especially when it comes to design. You know, part of being on the production team, whether it's at a church, at Hope Channel, or AWR, we might think that that is a career, that is a job, when in fact, being part of that team is actually being part of worship. We think that the worship is just up here. Someone who practices the piano, someone who sings the song, someone who sings in the choir. That's worship. No, the person who's turning the right knobs at the right time during worship is also joining worship. The person who knows where to put the plug at the right time, that's worship. The person coming 30 minutes before church or before the production to plug everything back in, that in itself is worship. That's what shows the excellence in our teams, the excellence in our work. There's this graph that I was sharing with some of my friends a couple weeks ago, because they wanted, I have a friend in Manila who's trying, in the city of Manila, trying to develop a creative team. And he's on, he has some people working with him who are non-Adventists. And so he was inviting some of his friends, I'm one of those, and we were talking about how to develop skills and excellence as a team, and also how to develop ourselves individually so that we contribute to the overall picture. And I just wanted to share with you some of the things that we talked about there, and some of the ideas that they threw back. Often when we come into multimedia or production, we only see the tip of the iceberg, right? We don't see what happens underneath. We don't see the extra hours. We don't see those things. And often what we see is we only see the output. We only see the service. We see everything that was right and that was wrong. The moment, like I said, the microphone goes off, I need to go talk to the sounds guy about that, right? But as a team, when you're working in creative arts, tech, or tech art, you have to have a brand ecosystem that you stand by. You have production and system processes, right? Everyone has to value their time. There's content development and distribution within the team itself. If you think about the output, think about what has to happen inside of your team before you can get that success that you would want to have with your customer or as a church or as a production team. But individually, there's a lot of effort that goes in to making some type of success with your product. Design, the cameraman, the photographer, the audio man, whatever skill that is, that's up to us to develop on it, to bring excellence to it. Our developing our skills us developing our skills, that in itself is worship. And I believe that's the one part that I often see missed out on a lot of our production teams. So this previous month, like I said, we had this test run, if you might will, of practicum. Within 72 hours, we wanted to see how far we could push some of our union communication teams, to see their creativity and what they could produce. And it was quite interesting what they produced. They were able to create, 3 different short video clips. We don't have time to show those video clips today. But they were, with the short amount of time, with the teamwork, with the classes that we had, they were able to catch on to something that could bring hope, that could bring inspiration to the people that are in our community. So I'm going to play this video. Sadly to say, I'm the only one in the video because since everyone traveled this past August, we weren't able to grab Pastor Heshbon to bring himself in to be part of the video. So, if I have audio,
we want to share Jesus in our...
One moment. Audio. Okay.
Corner of the world.
Would there be audio in the back? Again, let's not blame the devil for this. This is on us, not testing it beforehand.
We want to share Jesus in our corner of the world. How do we do that? We want to partner with every Adventist communicator in the territory. Communicators from different unions came together to hone communication skills, refine our messaging, and optimize workflows to achieve specific goals with excellence that will reflect who we are as followers of Jesus.
The truth that we all know and present it in a way that is, tastes good.
You cannot actually tell other people that the Lord is good unless you have tasted Him.
So we need to do things that makes us feel alive.
Working for the church, time is always important.
Have a chance of building a team, build one.
And then you can learn on that.
And you will never get a proper response if it's haphazard work.
This is a tremendous event. We learn so many things.
I wasn't expecting that it would cover all areas: social media, project management, direction. We were very busy. It was really nice, and I was feeling like I was in college again, because when I was studying communication, sometimes we would have a week doing this kind of projects, and now I was feeling that I was in college again. This was really good for me.
During our meeting, we can feel the atmosphere of friendship, the atmosphere of unity among all of us, communication department and media, and we'll do the best that we can in order to declare the gospel.
I felt I was not alone, and that the communication team all over the division is solid and we are one. And I pray that this will be a momentum to do great things for God in our own region.
So, we're praying that our leaders will partner with us in this initiative moving forward. God bless.
Right, that's what I had to show the treasurers before I could ask for more money. Right? Everyone knows that feeling. So I wanted to show that really quick to kind of give you a bird's eye view that we are trying to find ways to invest in the next generation. The church, and help them excel with their skills, whether it's through production, script writing, social media, communication flows, audio, design, graphics, the list goes on. Because we believe with that type of potential, when people see, I'm talking about our division, there's more than 1 billion people in our division, vast, with all the religions in the world are practically in our division, and a ton of languages. So it's very difficult for us to just start from one example. We have to create multiple examples, inspire each other to come up with greater ideas, that it's not about what our idea was, but about contributing to somebody else's idea, that when they go back to their union, their conference, or whatever language group that is, they'll be able to excel with that type of ministry. So there's some Bible takeaways that I want to end with when it comes into building this excellence, building. I lost my pointer. Is it gone? It must be gone. Yeah. So when we think about production, it's mostly technical work, right? And I was reading through the Bible this past January, and I was asking God, where do I start? Where's the starting point for me to contribute to the team, to realign my way of thinking, to align to what the church is trying to do? And for some reason, the Lord brought me into rereading the book of Exodus. And, you know, the whole story of them trying to get over the Red Sea. Is it the Red Sea? Is it the Red Sea? Okay, people are okay. I'm just making sure, because maybe someone might disagree with me there. And what was interesting to me is when I got to chapter 31. And chapter 31, you know, this is now the complaints of everyone. Like, we want God to be with us. And God said, okay, I need to be with you guys. And I need a place to stay. So, chapter 31 begins with Moses and God speaking to Moses. And this is what he says. Then the Lord said to Moses, see, I have chosen Bezalel, son of Ur, the son of Ur, the son of Hur of the tribe of Judah, and I have filled him with the Holy Spirit of God. He was filled with the Holy Spirit. So I did a little research trying to figure out who was the first person that was filled with the Holy Spirit. Who was the first person? This is a theologian here that can correct me. Bezalel is the first person in the Bible recorded that was filled with the Holy Spirit. He wasn't a pastor, I'm sorry. He was a technician. He was a technical person. Can you imagine? I'm not going to go through the whole thing because I know you guys have time on your own to read through it. How are you going to build the tabernacle with all the specs in the desert? How thick was those cloth around the tabernacle in the most holy place? Where are you going to make that? Where are you going to sew that? Where are you going to make a basic tent and make it into this fabulous temple where God can stay? That takes skill and talent. If we want to embrace the excellence, it's not about what you read, not where you went to school, but what fills your heart. And as we build excellence in our teams, we find this through the services that we provide, whether it's at a local church, part of the organizational church, part of the education system, the hospital system, the centers of influence. All of that will always be part of what's in our hearts, if it's there. Are we half-baked Christians? You know, it's interesting when it was shown up here that there's only 8% Christians who read their Bible. I wonder how many percentages of that is Adventist, just as a way of thinking, right? But we need to be filled with the Holy Spirit if we dare to get through our ministry, the work that we have, and to participate in ways beyond that we can imagine. Another takeaway that I found in the book of Hebrews was that when I look at the work that I do, and working with teams, leading teams, even helping out with the local church, I often can find myself doing it because it was on the schedule, or because my friend asked me to help and participate. I find myself in those positions. But in Hebrews 2, verses 12 and 13, Jesus is speaking, says, I will proclaim your name to my brethren. In the midst of the congregation, I will sing your praise. I will put my trust in him. And again, behold, and I, the children of whom God has given me. There's Jesus participating with us in our worship, in our workflows. He is with us. So put that in a pin on the back of your mind, that as we work together, it's not because I have a boss. It's not because there's this system that I'm following, but because Jesus is working alongside of me in the midst of the congregation. So as we participate together in ministry, as we participate in productions, remember that excellence comes from what's in our hearts and who we are working with. To end, there's this quote that I always go to when it comes to creativity. And Auntie Ellen says this: "Great light shines upon us, then is shown upon our fathers. We cannot be accepted or honored of God in rendering the same service or doing the same works as our fathers did. In order to be accepted and blessed of God as they were, we must imitate their faithfulness and zeal, improve our light as they improved theirs, and to do what they would have done had they lived in our day." I loved how Sam opened up this morning, comparing to what we have today and how the early church began with the printing press. You know, there has been a great transition in technology. And today, every other week, there's a new technology that is out there. You know, right now we're going crazy because of something called digital. But digital is just zeros and ones, on and off. In just a couple more years, we're going to be beyond that. We're going to go into something that you only hear on movies, the quantum. There's computers that are able to compute things that are not just zeros and ones. It's be able to compute multiple things at once, multiple possibilities. I mean, Apple has it, Google has it, you know, and Microsoft has it. They're using these computers to figure out things. And as people were saying earlier, hopefully our church is more prepared to use these tools. But for me, my thoughts are that I wish that our hearts and the people that we're working for are more prepared when the opportunity comes. God bless.